Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Real Estate. This time I am joined by Brandon Scuderi, who is one of our construction project managers. So Brandon runs a lot of our jobs, most of our jobs. You have a lot of them.
I do have a lot.
So welcome, man. I'm glad you're here. We're going to dive into the world of construction.
Glad to be here.
So I gave a little intro sort of about what your role is, but can you explain what you do in your words?
The way I describe what my role is mostly like customer service. And so there's a level of scheduling and things like that, but it's mostly just dealing with our customers and handling the customers and setting the right expectations and making sure like the right expectation is set and then like the customer's expectations are met.
Mm-hmm. Which is easier said than done.
It's much easier said than done
on a construction site.
Yeah.
Because I think like, so we do remodels, we do additions, we do new builds, we do all sorts of stuff. But construction is like, it rarely ever goes according to plan.
Yeah.
I mean, we are good at planning.
Yeah.
But there's always, and it's always messy. And it takes long. So just so the customer experience side is such an important thing because even like most people don't like their contractor. It was interesting. I had a conversation with one of our clients. She came up to me and she was like, "Hey, I asked my friends if they would hire their contractor again, and they both immediately said no." And I was like, "Well, I would hire 6th Avenue again," which this is one of your clients.
Yeah.
And so that customer experience piece is super important. So how do you approach that? Like, walk me through that.
Mostly just I like to get to know my customers and have a personal relationship, when allows. I mean, some clients are busier than others, and so the personal relationship doesn't get as built as much, but just kind of understanding like them and their personalities and like what they're looking for and what they're trying to achieve, because everybody sees things differently. And so that was one of the hardest things that I had to learn is like what I'm going to notice isn't what somebody else is going to notice. Mm-hmm. And so it's trying to kind of align with those kinds of things, so that you're on the same page and you're both looking for the same quality expectations, like kind of across the board. Mm-hmm. There's like a general quality expectation, but I have some clients that, they're less worried, let's say, about the texture and more worried about like the trim. And so, obviously there's a general level of expectation on the texture that we have, but they're also going to, look at like the millwork on a higher level. And so just trying to align there.
Yeah. What do they want?
Yeah.
How do we make that happen?
Yeah. Because even with the millwork, you have like what we do is a lot of the square baseboards and stuff. And so there's different levels of like what people want in that. And so like you could do the butt joints, you could do the miter joints, you could like cope it, you can scribe it to the floor. So especially in like a lot of these old houses that we do.
And most people probably don't even know what they want.
Yeah.
If you ask me what do I'd be like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But then if I saw it, I might.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you get into construction? Like, did you go to school for that? Did you do it as a kid? Like,
no. So, I always had an interest in like building and engineering. And so, when me and my wife rented our first house, I was like, I want to build a piece of furniture. And so I built a crappy piece of pallet furniture in our garage with like my first Black & Decker tools that I bought.
And what'd you build?
It was like a pallet entertainment center. And I was really proud of it, but it looked really horrible. Yeah. And
pallet wood was like very popular.
Yeah, pallet was like, it was very popular.
It's very inconsistent.
And
it's a pain to take pallets apart.
Yeah, it's honestly the worst.
Yeah. So you built an entertainment center.
Yeah. And then shortly after that, we ended up buying a house, and I was like, I bet I could just figure out how to do all this stuff. And so we basically gutted our first house with like no experience.
You did it yourself?
Yeah, I did everything myself, like the demo, everything, all the put back together, the sheetrock, the painting.
With no experience? Like your dad didn't teach you any of that stuff?
No, my stepdad was like, because he knows how to do some of that stuff, but not as, he's not super knowledgeable. He's kind of like me. He'll do what he can. Mm-hmm. But then he was like, you're way braver than I would have ever been. He's like, you just bought, at the time, a moderate priced house that was perfectly fine, and you like destroyed everything inside. And you're like, yeah, I'll figure out how to put it back together.
Okay.
He's like, I can't believe you did that. And I was like, eh.
And did it
like,
work? Were you good at it?
It all worked out pretty well. I mean, there's things that like I'll go back and like do or change or things like that. But overall, I mean, everything came out really well. We didn't do like, I didn't like rewire the whole house and replumb the whole house. And so, it, you know, it wasn't that, but it was, you know, all the trim carpentry, flooring, painting, all that kind of stuff. We installed all new fixtures that I shocked myself a couple times trying to figure out how to put back together. And so, and then from there, we were like, I just always had an interest in like learning how to do things. And so, we wanted to add on to our house for a garage. And so I was like, I really want to build it myself. And my wife was like, you're crazy. And I was like, I think I can do it. I was like, I see these guys that do it. And I was like, they're not smarter than I am. And so I was like, I'm pretty sure I could just, you know, learn how to do it.
Yeah.
And so spent a lot of time researching like codes and like techniques and like the proper way to do stuff. And so I engineered and built a 2-story addition to our house all by myself.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And you like framed it yourself?
Yep. I did all the framing. The only thing I didn't do.
You like getting books, or are you getting on YouTube, or like?
A lot of YouTube, a lot of articles. I like to read articles to show versus watch videos.
Yeah.
But a lot of articles, a lot of YouTube.
You did a 2-story addition all by yourself.
Yeah, engineered and everything. So I engineered like the floor system, and like you know, I had talked with, you know, some of the truss suppliers.
Yeah.
But mostly just kind of figured it out myself, and that was explaining to them what I was doing, and was asking for like a specific thing.
Yeah. And what'd you study? Like, what were you doing for your job?
I was doing business to business sales, so I was selling uniforms.
Okay.
Yeah, I was selling uniforms at the time.
Okay, but did this giant project, and that obviously unlocked something in your brain. You're like, this is fun.
Yeah, I just enjoy it.
I can do this. I can engineer. I can like.
Yeah.
And so it went like, it looked good.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean,
I was happy.
You know, my wife is very happy with it. Again, there's some things that like I'd like to go back and like do again, just as the first time I did them. It, you know, maybe not look the best, but you know, you know, I mean, it's still standing. It's 7 years later, and it's still standing, and everything is working well. And
so wild.
Yeah,
you are very brave. Yeah. But I love that. So then, like, at what point were you like, I want to do more of this, or for other people, or?
So during COVID, I started an outdoor construction business, and so it really started with, I responded to a lady's ad on Facebook. She wanted like a Trex deck built, and I was like, I can do that.
Yeah.
And so I charged her like $200 to do it, and then went out there, and I was like, man, I was like, I'm just sitting at home. I was like, I could just do this for other people.
Yeah.
And so I started advertising on Facebook and doing some of that stuff, and started doing like fencing and decks and patio covers. And then I was doing some sheetrock stuff. And then it kind of got too busy, and then COVID was kind of going away. And so I went back to work full time, and I was doing it on the side, and I was working like 16 hours a day, like sun up to sundown, like just trying to get everything in. And Amber was like, I didn't get married to be a single mom. So like, you really got to pick, like, you can do this or you can go back to work. Like it can't be both.
Yeah.
And so, as a single income household, I was like, I'm going to go back to work. And so I was doing sales, and then I just really hated it. And so towards the end of that was right before I came here. And so it was like, I'm going to either try to utilize this experience to get a construction job, or we had budgeted for me to quit my job and start my own business. And this was when she was pregnant with our 3rd child. So we'd kind of had some savings and some stuff built up for us to, even if I didn't work for 8 months, it was, we would make it work. And so at that time, 6 Ave was actually the only person that I got an interview with. And so I was able to get on here.
Yeah.
So the rest is history.
Dude, and how many years have you been with 670 Homes?
It's about almost 3.5 years now.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And you've done all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So what have you learned since then?
Oh man, a million things. I feel like I'm a better communicator. You know, the quality level, I mean, that has kind of just gone through the roof. I think that was like one of the hardest things to learn as like just going into the industry, was, okay, like what is acceptable and like what is not. Cause nothing really is perfect. And so it's how to create the image of perfect. And so I feel like I've got that down really well at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And obviously, like coming from sales is such a different thing, because your job is to like get someone excited about a thing, sell them the thing, see you later. And your job here isn't to sell them anything.
Yeah.
Your job is to essentially like walk with them through this process, which is generally 3 to 9 months to a year long, sometimes a year and a half long, in some cases, and make sure like, are the expectations being met? Are we doing it right? Are they formed? So very different like communication style and skill set.
Yeah. So I did some new business sales towards the end, but a lot of my sales experience was like account management. So it was like long-term account management. And so we did like contracts. And so we were mostly negotiating like 5-year contract renewals and things like that. So it definitely had a balance of like understanding how to maintain long-term relationships and things like that.
Is there anything like in terms going back to this idea of like, what have you learned? Is there anything where like, I had no idea how this was done, or this is my perspective on this has totally changed? Like any kind of like big pivots?
Yeah. I would say the engineering and like the design aspect, and just like the architectural and interior design. I was like, man, this is what we do is so much more in depth than I would have ever imagined anybody doing. Like I said, I told you the story about previously about how I downloaded a free app on my phone to do those floor plans. And so just all the work that like Kayla puts in and some of these other like Lee puts in, and
our designers,
is far more than I would have ever expected, for sure.
Okay. What's like can you tell a story of like probably the most challenging job you've tackled with us? Does anything come to mind when hardest job, most challenging job, most difficult job?
Sorry, I'm trying to think of one that isn't like just a bad client.
And there's two different definitions. There's probably like challenging in terms of like the construction, and then challenging in terms of like this is a really hard client.
That's what I was trying. I want to talk about the construction portion of it. And so so the most challenging job I feel like we've done is we did a 1912 remodel over by Dickies Arena, and the house was just interesting. I mean, it was like a former burnout with some fire damage, and then the flippers, I think, that remodeled it before us had done some electrical work that was a little bit sketchy. And so it was balloon framing. And so if you know what a balloon framing is, it's like the original style of house framing, which isn't to code anymore. So it was kind of modifying that to meet like current codes. And that was probably the most challenging project, just because there was such a mixture of different things that we had to uncover, as far as like the old foundation was still, it was solid, but it was also like, old wood post sitting on rocks. So it was just very different than, even like a lot of these Fairmount homes that we do.
I've had old historical homes where the foundation is literally cedar tree stumps.
Oh, jeez.
It's not even like it's literally just like a tree stump cut.
I should have taken some pictures, but we went to Canada a week or so ago, or about 3 weeks ago. And then we went to a friend of ours' dad's home, and it was an old historic home, and they had three tree stumps that were the foundation supports. And it was like all the way in, and then they had like hand hewn, probably Doug fir beams.
Oh, cool.
It was
geeking out over that.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. It was really cool to see.
That's awesome. What about, is there a job that's like it would be you're most proud of? Like, this was hard. It turned out so great. Like do you have like a favorite project that didn't come to mind?
Two of my favorite projects that I've done is the one we did. It was probably, at the time, it was my biggest project to date, but we did a project out in Aledo for a family. It was a family home that the daughter had came back and purchased, and they wanted to remodel it, to kind of update it, because it was all straight out of 1950s, I believe.
Okay.
And so that one was probably one of my funnest jobs. It's a really cool project. We added on to it. Is an older historic home. And so it's fun to work with. And they really did a good job of trying to like mix in some of that historic with the new modern stuff. And then the clients were, I just loved and adored them as people. And then the new construction home that I'm doing currently, the custom home in Tanglewood, is probably one of my favorite projects as well. Just the heart behind it with the clients and just their personal story and everything. It's been a really fun project to do from the ground up.
Yeah.
So,
and you really, I mean, you're with these clients for months and months and months.
yeah.
So you really build a relationship.
Yeah.
With them. Is there any like thing you wish people knew going into a construction project? 'Cause you're the guy that has to manage their expectations and emotions.
Yeah.
Like, what do you wish people knew going into it that they probably don't know? Especially if they've never done a construction or remodel
So if you're doing an interior remodel, it's just messy. Especially we have, I think the biggest thing that's hard to communicate with clients is people that are trying to live in their home while they're remodeling. It is just really messy. And some people think they can live through it and they're like, yeah, it'll be fine. But it gets out of hand and they just aren't able to, I've had clients that was, yeah, we're just gonna stay here. And then they ended up having to move out like a couple months in because it was just really dusty and they couldn't handle it. We were cleaning the house every day.
Sheetrock dust.
Yeah.
Like, even if you just do a little piece of sheetrock,
Yeah.
there's so, like, dust just covers everything.
It's honestly tile on concrete. So anytime we have to remove tile on concrete, it is horrendous because we have to go in and grind all the mortar out and it just makes so much mess.
Dust.
So this is probably remodeled in the 2000s. And so they had like 1,200 square feet of tile that we had to remove.
Oh, God.
And so the tile, the mortar dust just got everywhere. I mean, we did, all the site protections and, the gaps for, using dust extraction and all this stuff. And it was just so much.
So, biggest piece of advice, prepare your heart. It's going to be messy.
Yeah. Just really, really self-evaluate how much you're willing to live through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or plan accordingly.
Which I've done. I've lived through a couple remodels. I don't know if I could do it again. I probably will do it again. But it's not fun. And then when your kitchen's like torn apart and you're like using the bathroom for your water and everything.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. How do you manage expectations with timelines and budgets? Because part of what your job too is like managing the subcontractors. Say they're going to be there and then don't show up. And then like, how do you handle all of that?
Yeah, it's just constant communication with the clients. It's, obviously, managing some contractors and continuing to work with people that you trust and that are going to show up and do a good job. But mostly it's just constant communication with clients. So we send out emails communicating like budget and timeline updates. And then just, every time that kind of changes, like if we have a delay, it's like, hey, just a reminder, now we had rain for the last 3 weeks. We're going to be 3 weeks behind. Because it's just not something that people generally think about is, oh, hey, it did rain for the last 3 weeks. Now my project's going to be pushed for the next like 3 weeks out past what we wanted. Because we've had an abnormally wet year this year.
Yeah, this summer has been.
And so it's been more of like that weather aspect has been more of a challenge than it usually is.
Is there a job where you're like, I just love, like, do you have your own style? Like, if I was to ask Brandon, like, what's your vibe and style? Is there a job where you're like, this, I just loved it. This is my vibe.
That house in Alita that I did, that was the one I loved what they picked out. And I loved pretty much everything they did in there. And so it was like that. I wouldn't know how to describe my style.
Yeah.
But the joke is with the girls that Brandon's turning into a designer nerd because I've started to learn that lingo. Or like, man, sometimes you have some good takes. And so it's a joke that I'm going to be a designer next.
Yeah. And have you had any where you're like, this looks horrible. I don't know what they're thinking, but I'm going to do it.
Yes. But it's all personal preference, right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's all personal preference.
Cool. Is there
because the client, I thought it was hideous, but the clients loved it.
Yeah.
Like, and it was a great install, but I didn't like when they selected, and the clients they loved it. They were thrilled with it. So, okay.
Yeah, I can dig it. So tell me, walk me through what a day in your life looks like.
Oh, a day in my life. So I usually, I start work at 6. Sometimes I go play basketball before work. So
really?
3 days a week I play basketball from 5 to 7 in Fort Worth.
5 a.m.?
5 a.m. to 7.
There's guys playing basketball at 5 a.m.?
Yep. Yeah, I found this group on Facebook, and so we get together and we play basketball for 2 hours, before work.
No way. That's fun.
Yeah. And then I change, and I start kind of making the rounds of my projects. And so our vacant projects I'll hit first thing in the morning just to kind of check, make sure everything what was done for the day. Also, I like to get there early to make sure that the guys locked up properly if they're working later than usual. And so that way I can address that with them. And then, so I kind of make all my rounds in the morning, and then I'll come back to the office usually a little bit for a couple hours, catch up on emails, paperwork, things like that. And then by that time, people are already calling me like, hey, I need you to come look at this. Hey, I need you to come look at that. And so kind of making the rounds back again to get everything sorted out.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Favorite part of your job?
I would say the favorite part of my job is the flexibility that I have, and like the people that I get to work with. I would say most of our clients I've really, really loved and enjoyed to work with, and just meeting them and, hearing about them and what they're doing. And it's been a really fun process. And I've enjoyed it a lot. Because like you said, we're meeting with, we're with these people for 6, 8, 9 months. So, a lot of projects are 6-month projects. And you're interacting with them. So many of my clients are on site every day with me. And so whether we see each other every day or it's long conversations every day, we're seeing each other almost every day for, 10 months. And so just getting to build the relationships with them and getting to know them. And like the new construction clients, they're almost on site every day.
Yeah.
And I just adore them. Yeah. I love their family. And so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of family, talk about your family. You got kids.
Yep. So
girl dad.
Yep. Girl dad life.
Yeah.
So my wife, Amber, we've been married since 2014. And so, we got married really young. We have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and then Evelyn is 3.5, almost 4 years old. And so she's been the, the catalyst of our life. She's kind of been the biggest changer. She's got, special needs. And so, that's one of the cool things about working here is the flexibility allows me to do what I need to do at home and be there for her and be there for my wife and my other kids.
And then your wife is full time with the girls.
Yep.
And then do y'all have a foundation too? Like she does a lot of like awareness and support and.
Yeah, so we don't have a nonprofit. She was working with a nonprofit for a while.
Working with one.
But yeah, she is she's our daughter's biggest advocate. And so she spends a lot of time with doctors and nurses talking, and then she spends a lot of time on social media doing education and just kind of trying to show how much these kids can thrive and succeed. So her diagnosis is trisomy 18, and so it's actually considered incompatible with life, and which means that there are certain hospitals that won't treat them. So they'll just let them pass and they won't do anything. And so my wife, as believers, we value that life, and we do our best to kind of advocate and to kind of show that, her life is important and she can enjoy life just as much as everyone else does. So our mission is to get her to do as many fun things as possible, even if she hates them.
I love it. So I love that. Yeah. And y'all's story is inspiring. I mean, just the way y'all fought for her and advocate for her and just, and I know it's not easy. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about is I feel like as a dad and as a man, it's like work, there are things you love about work, but there's also things that are really hard. And there's things about construction that can be really stressful.
Yeah.
And taxing and time consuming mentally and emotionally. And and then coming home is comes with its challenges too. Y'all were just in the hospital for
2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
So how do you stay like personally, mentally, and emotionally healthy enough to like give to your clients and give to your family? Because I can imagine there's days like work was freaking hard, and now I'm coming home and this is also a really hard situation. You know, we're dealing with hospitals, which didn't like.
Yeah.
But you have these girls that are looking up to you.
Yeah.
Like, just how do you handle all that?
I mean, I honestly, my faith, you know, I think God's been the biggest part of that. And he gives us the strength and the endurance we need to do that. I mean, that's part of our nightly prayers, is to continue to give us endurance to run our race. And, you know, I think for my kids and everything, you know, even when we're in the hospital and things are hard, it's just reminding them that God is good, and no matter what happens, like, God is good, and, you know, trying to have that mindset and maintain that mindset. And so, I'd say that's probably the biggest part of how, you know, the way to do it. I mean, obviously, like, I like, you know, just kind of getting out of stress and things like that. I do like fish, and I play basketball and some of those things. But as far as like being able to continue every day, you know, I would say just by the grace of God. You know, because when Evelyn's sick or in the hospital, you know, I've basically got to be a single dad. So my wife stays with Evelyn with the hospital.
Yeah.
So my wife, not only Evelyn was in the hospital for 2 months, my wife was in the hospital for 2 months.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's waking the girls up in the morning, get them to my mom's house, and help us babysit, and then coming to work, and then trying to find time to visit Evelyn and my wife at the hospital, and then trying to get home early enough to pick up the kids and get them fed and get them in bed, and you know, trying to do your best to be there for everyone. And so it's difficult, but, you know, it's just kind of one of those things you just keep trucking on.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I love about you, and I think our team does and our clients do, is like you always have a positive attitude and a smile on your face. And like, even like there's days you're in here, I'm like, dude, I know he's exhausted.
Yeah.
With construction drama and just with, you know, single dadding at the moment.
Yeah.
And you're positive smile, like, and that's easier said than done. Like I'm assuming too, there's some, I don't know, self-talk you have to do, or you know, you say your faith is a big part of it, but just.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like I do a really good job of like just kind of keeping moving on and moving forward, and not dwelling on like the present or in the past. You know, I really try to take the stance of like, it doesn't really matter what happened yesterday. Like, let's look at what's like in front of us, and then like what we're doing today for the rest of the day and tomorrow. And so I think that's one of the things that I like. I think what's one of the things that my clients like about me in construction, it's like, okay, we don't really need to hash out like like why this happened, but like, let's figure out like what the solution is moving forward and how to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think that just kind of goes in, you know, for the rest of for all of my life. It's not like, oh, how tired I was yesterday. It's like, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow? And how am I going to get through that?
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. Well, you hinted at it. The other thing, like anybody that knows you knows you love fishing.
Yep.
So
I do.
Talk a little bit about that.
I love kayak fishing. So, rewind a little bit. So I got into kayak fishing because I'd bought a dirt bike at like 28 years old. And then I was like, I am not a dirt bike guy. This is way too fast. I'm not trying to break a leg. This is not for me. And so we sold my dirt bike and me and my buddy got kayaks. And so I was like, this is much more.
It was like trading on Facebook Marketplace or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, I love it. And so one of our goals is to take Evelyn somewhere new every year, at least once. And so I told my wife, I was like, I'll take you anywhere you want to go, as long as I get to do a fishing trip while I'm there. And so everywhere we travel, I try to do a guided fishing trip. And so like we just did Canada. And so I did like a Niagara River and Lake Erie walleye fishing trip. And so caught the walleye and then caught my first ever smallmouth bass. And so it was super fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And give me some other fishing stories.
I don't know that I have like the best fishing story to me is I got to take. I have a friend that has a private ranch, and so they have a 30-acre stock tank, and so I got to take Amelia kayak fishing, my oldest daughter, for the first time, and she loved it. She was hooked, and so watching her catch 2 or 3 pound bass in her little kayak with her little rod, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, this is so cool!" It was a lot of fun.
A 30-acre tank?
Yeah, is huge. Yeah, it's I think it's on like a 1,200-acre ranch out there.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so cool. But you get up and like go some mornings too. Like,
yeah. So I'll get up like 6. Like I'll get up at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, and like I'll go fishing, and then there's some mornings where I fish before work. So my first year here, I caught my personal best at Lake Weatherford because I was up at like 6 o'clock in the morning fishing before I came into work.
That's awesome. And you also make your own lures?
I do. Yeah, I make my own like soft plastic fishing lures, and so that's really fun.
And you sell them too, right?
Yeah, I do. It's Dominion Fishing, so it's
if you need
soft lures, Dominion Fishing on Facebook.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What advice would you give your younger self?
What advice would I give my younger self? Be more present in your home with your wife and your kids, and spend more time fostering that relationship with your wife. Before my youngest daughter was born, me and my wife were in a pretty rough spot. And so we really kind of reconnected and bonded through the trauma and all the things that we had to deal with. And so just if I could go back and redo a lot of that, I would put more time into, fostering that relationship and that with her.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's good. That's advice I need to take as well, like constantly. I feel like as men, it's so easy to check out or think about other things, and I'm always solving and what's next? What do I like?
Yeah.
And it's hard to like be there and in the moment and enjoy it instead of thinking about what's next.
Yeah. It's a struggle daily to kind of continue to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, cool. I'm gonna do a couple quick. This is the rapid round.
All right.
It's coffee and roasted. So I always ask what your go-to coffee order is.
Green Monster.
Green Monster. Not coffee. A Green Monster.
No, I like just black gas station coffee if I'm gonna drink coffee.
Okay. So, which gas station?
Like 7-Eleven.
Okay. 7-Eleven coffee.
Not even like a high-end gas station.
That's awesome. Favorite meal in Fort Worth?
Favorite meal in Fort Worth? Juanito's Tacos.
Wait, where's that?
It's on Hemp Hill down here.
Oh, really?
It's really.
I've never been there.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a Hispanic spot.
Yeah.
But it's really good.
They
get some good street tacos.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird.
Yeah, for sure. You talked about 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. multiple times. Do you have like a favorite book or podcast or anything that has been like really influential?
Yeah. So one of the things that's been the most influential to me is this podcast called Bible Talk. Okay. So it's like 3 doctorates of theology that sit around and they go through like chapter by chapter of the Bible. And so it's been really interesting. They're kind of fun to listen to.
Who is it?
It's a 9 Marks podcast. It's Jim Hamilton and Sam Amadi, and there's one other guy I forget his name, but they're out of the Kentucky area, but it's a really good podcast, and I've definitely learned a lot. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, final question. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. I asked you if you were Italian, because the last name is Scuderi.
Yep. Italian Scuderi.
And you said there's some mafia history there. So give me the Scuderi family history real quick before we leave, because I would be. So get that recorded.
Yeah. So Scuderi is not my dad. My dad's biological father, I guess, had him with my grandma, and then he was in the mafia, and so he kind of disappeared. And
In Italy.
no, in New Jersey.
In New Jersey. Okay.
And so then like my grandma came back to Louisiana, and then she ended up marrying my grandfather that I grew up with the last name Scuderi. Okay. And
so all Italian.
All Italian. But they came over from Italy in the 20s, I believe, or maybe before that. And his dad owned like an olive oil and like wine importing and exporting business, and the mafia kept trying to get into it, and so they burned it down like 3 or 4 times, and then in like the Kansas area, and then they moved. That's when he moved to Louisiana.
No,
and
the mafia burned his business.
Yeah, because he
wouldn't pay.
He wouldn't be a part of it, and so he didn't want any. He wouldn't give them any money, and so they burned, I think, 3 of his businesses down.
Oh my gosh.
And he was like, "No, I'm not doing it." And so then they moved, and then they lived in like the Southwest Louisiana, New Orleans area. And then one of his sisters actually married like the second in command of like the mafia in New Orleans. And so
New Orleans is historically pretty corrupt.
Yeah. He worked directly for Carlos Marcello. And so it's really funny because there's like a JFK conspiracy about like Carlos Marcello like putting out the hit on JFK.
No.
And so their house had like a secret room that like the mafia would come and have meetings and stuff in.
Oh my gosh. That's wild.
Not affiliated, but
yeah, no longer part of it.
Yeah, I am not, but
yeah, that's awesome. But Italian.
Yep, Italian.
I love it. Well, Brandon, thanks for joining me, man.
That's fine.
Loved having you on here.
Thanks.
Cool.